Hey everybody, this is Pete Greco, Vice President of Sales and Technology. Thanks for hopping on with us to talk a little bit about Sophos Intercept X. If you have questions at any time throughout the presentation, please feel free to chat them to me. I'm going to actually break out my chat box right now so that I don't overlook them. And we're going to get this party started as it is the top of the hour. So again, thanks for coming. We're going to meet productive in 1 minute. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the Sophos features, and then we're going to give you a couple of looks at the key features of the Sophos Intercept X, help you understand what their machine learning technology is all about. There's a lot of other features though, and if you see something that you want to learn more about, you can definitely get on with your productive rep and talk about getting a custom demo so we can talk about the things that you want to see and talk a little bit about how this can help you improve the security in your environment. So who are we? Productive Corporation. We provide security solutions for mid-sized companies. And this includes all kinds of information that we've learned over the years that we're going to share with you. We're going to help you understand what you need to do to be more secure and help you understand how to license the products correctly to make sure you get everything you need. We also do a lot of implementation, testing, and optimization. We do vulnerability and penetration tests and all kinds of fun stuff like that. Active Directory security is a huge thing. If your AD gets compromised, everything is compromised. So it's definitely a key thing to be looking at. We also do a lot at the perimeter, and that can include configuration assessments and UTM setups for the solutions that you get from us. We also create a lot of educational content. And so if you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, productivecorp.com/content is our website that'll link you there. You can find all kinds of good videos that we've made over the past related to security and disaster recovery, modern threats, how exploit kits work, all kinds of good stuff there. So the bottom line is we're here to help you. Check us out, productivecorp.com. Send us a note, help@productivecorp.com, and let us know what we can do for you. So let's keep this thing rolling. So one of the key features around the Sophos family of products is this concept that they call Synchronized Security. And basically what this is doing is allowing three key components: the endpoint protection, the gateway protection, their XG firewall, and the safeguard encryption that does both full disk as well as file, folder, and application encryption to communicate. And how that can manifest itself, and here's a pretty simple explanation, is the gateway detects traffic going out to a command and control server or some other site that it has deemed to not be good. It's originating from an endpoint, but nothing malicious has happened yet. There's been no malicious download or any kind of payload that's come out to the machine. So this is really the beginning stages of what is going to become an attack, right? So the firewall has detected that. It communicates back to the endpoint and says, what application is originating this traffic? It's going to a bad place. That means we believe the application to be bad. Kill it. While this is happening, the firewall can block the communication, so nothing more is leaving the environment. The endpoint goes to work on finding and eradicating that malicious program or application or file or whatever it is. And the encryption pulls the encryption key so that all of the data is encrypted. So if something were to leave, which it really can't because it's blocked by the firewall, it would leave in an encrypted format. And now the endpoint is going to kill something before it has had the opportunity to do something bad. Once it's confirmed clean, the information can be re-authenticated with the encryption key and unlocked. The firewall will allow traffic back to the internet, and all goes well for that end user. They can get back to work. Now you can configure that a bunch of different ways. You can set it up so that Certain machines don't automatically get allowed back onto the network until the admin releases them, or once it's deemed green, it can go back automatically, and it can be different for different kinds of folks. So a lot of capabilities there. You don't need to be an encryption user to take advantage of it, but it does take your protection to the next level and can be a part of that communication. You need to be running the Sophos Central on the endpoint, which is what we're talking about today, and then you need to be running Sophos's XG firewall in order to make that work. There's their previous model, SG, which was really a great solution. We have a ton of folks using it, does not have that synchronized capability. If you only have one Sophos product, you're still getting a lot of great protections, but might not be able to leverage this one capability. Protection covers Windows, Mac, Linux, iPhones if you're looking at mobile, Android phones, again, if you're looking at mobile, lots of different things we can do there for you. So if you're trying to solve some problems around all of those areas, and it's stuff that we're not talking about today, again, please let your productive rep know, and they can advise you if this is something we can help you with. So one of the great things about this Intercept X additional capability from Sophos is a feature called CryptoGuard. And what CryptoGuard is doing, as you can clearly see, is intercepting ransomware and helping stop that before any files get encrypted. And so one of the reasons that we break this out is everybody's talking about ransomware. We get a lot of calls about stopping ransomware proactively. We also, unfortunately, get a lot of calls of, I've gotten ransomware, what can I do now? And for a lot of folks, after you get it, it's really too late to go back and reverse that, except with your backup. So we're really talking about don't let it happen to begin with. Right. So the first thing that CryptoGuard is doing is it's monitoring file access, and it's looking for the characters and the keys that ransomware exhibits when it's trying to find the data that eventually will want to encrypt. So we want to detect it at that very beginning stage. Now, if it's something that's known, something that's been around a long time, like a crypto wall or Locky or one of these things, probably there's going to be a signature for it. And as soon as it sees that, it's gonna kill it. But if the strain has been renewed so that it's going to be undetectable by an antivirus signature, we're looking for that trademark. And in some situations, this might even go to work before the signature can detect it because of the way it's identifying the ransomware. So it's a great add-on. So we're looking for that rapid file access. That could also include file marking. Some of these ransomwares are actually marking files so that they know what to come back in specifically and encrypt. One of the things that these guys don't want to do is they don't want to run the risk of encrypting your full system, and then you're not going to be able to figure out where to send the money or send the Bitcoin, right? So they want to make sure they get all the right stuff, and that's something that CryptoGuard is looking for. Once an attack is detected, then CryptoGuard is identifying the process and stopping that, and then looking at everything that has happened in that. And I'm going to show you the graphic of this as we start looking at the product. And it's going to then roll back anything that has been compromised or touched back to its original state of where that machine was at right before the attack occurred. Right. And then you're going to be able to see everything that happened and have an understanding of what got touched, what was running at the time of the event occurred, and understand what processes, what files, what registry keys came into contact with that ransomware in this case, but really any kind of malware. The root cause analysis actually extends beyond what CryptoGuard is doing and beyond ransomware attacks to show you all kinds of information. And again, I'll show that to you. It's one of the most interesting things to look at in this presentation. So the root cause analysis, like I was saying, this is going to show you everything that was running at the time of the event. What was the attack vector? Where did it originate from? And what things were touching it? So you might have a bunch of files that were open, but they may not have come into contact with that, and therefore you don't need to worry about them, and you'll be able to hone in on the specific things that came into contact with that attack. Root cause analysis historically has been just for the endpoints. The beta has just been released for the server side, so a lot of folks are going to be excited about that. Anybody that we've brought on with this product who's taken advantage of this is reporting back to us extreme satisfaction in using the product, and really a strong desire to see this on the server side. That's going to be out real soon, so some great news there. And ultimately, you know, what we're trying to stop is you know, when good files go bad. And so a little screenshot here of what a encrypted spreadsheet ultimately will look at. Some of the other things that you're really doing with the Intercept X product is, you know, CryptoGuard, absolutely a key feature, but we're also looking for hacking techniques. And this falls under the fileless malware category. And this is really where the machine learning partially comes into play. So there's a lot of malwares that have been out for more than a couple of years. The really tricky part as you start looking at the early 2000s with some of this stuff is you really had to be the super hacker to be able to pull off some of these code caving attacks or privilege escalations or credential theft attacks. And what has happened over the last several years is a lot of these very complex and complicated attack vectors have been programmatized so that the super hackers could basically sell these to the mid-level hackers and give them a toolkit where they can now pull off these super advanced hacks. Still have to be, I think, a fairly smart individual to do that, but there's a lot of those folks and a lot of extremely motivated folks out there who want to get out there and steal your data so that they can sell it or ransom it back to you, and are making a living doing that. They're highly organized, right? They're incented potentially through threat from organized crime to be pulling off these attacks, and money is getting made, and that's where it's going to continue to happen. So with some of these things, the traditional antivirus, whether it's a Sophos AV or some other competitor's AV, they're looking for things that are getting read from and written to disk, right? So when something gets piggybacked on a file, something gets injected into an executable, that's when AV is going to go to work and kind of figure out, is this something I already know? Does this look like something that I've seen before? You know, they're taking advantage of heuristics to kind of figure out, oh man, this is really going to be, you know, the 81st variant in this strain or the 281st variant in this strain, and they're going to be able to stop it. But what happens when somebody is executing PowerShell script on a machine? AV is not going to see that at all, right? What happens when an already scanned and running process is having malicious code inserted into the heart of it so they can execute malicious activity into something that's already been deemed as good? AV is not going to see that at all. And so we want to block those techniques that are getting used to prevent that kind of activity from occurring. And some of the things that we're trying to avoid, of course, is that code caving, which is burying that malicious code inside of good code, right? Escalating privileges and getting a user privilege escalated can be quite harmful. Getting a system privilege escalated can be nearly impossible to track. So if that occurs in your environment, finding out about it is going to be impossible to do. So let's prevent it from happening altogether, right? We also want to avoid some great attacks that have been pulled off over the past couple years. And one of the most heinous, and I really wasn't familiar about this process until last year when I did some research and uncovered this hack, is enabling sticky keys in the registry, that effectively turns on a Windows authorized keystroke logger, right? So your system's not going to detect it because it's a Windows diagnostic that's running. And now you've got a keystroke logger, which any other keystroke logger is going to get stopped by most AVs. You've got an authorized keystroke logger sending off every keystroke that you've done. There has since, I believe, been a patch to help address that, but again, quite heinous. And once you start getting credentials off that system, now you've got a hacker coming back in as a known and authorized user, rooting around the network, trying to figure out how can they compromise additional credentials, what does the environment look like, what patches are you potentially missing, what kinds of servers are you running, and now they're starting to collect intelligence to really be able to pull off a hack. And a lot of folks that we talk to are coming out and saying, well, you know what, we really don't have credit cards. We really don't have social security numbers. So, we don't have anything to worry about. And if you don't have credit cards, that just means you don't have to worry about credit card theft. And if you don't have socials, you don't have to worry about identity theft, right? But if you have proprietary processes, and this isn't just scientific formulas or engineering designs, it could be that stuff, right? But it could be your unique way of going to market. It could be your plans for the future, and these things leak off and get sold to China. Now somebody is going to market in front of you with your own technology that they spent nothing to develop. It's going to be easy for them to beat you in the marketplace. So corporate espionage is a huge part of it. Simply using your resources to make money, like cryptojacking, so using your servers and your energy to go out and mine for Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency, using your resources to host adult sites for pay. So their overhead is very low because they're using your server space, and they're collecting money from folks that are coming to look at adult sites on your IP, right? That's all stuff that is going to cost you money and make you vulnerable, right? So how do we achieve upping that security? Add the Intercept X. Now, this can be added to other endpoint products. You can run it as a part of Sophos Central, in which case it just adds on to the, see if I can find my mouse, in which case it just adds on to the agent and gives you a single agent, which a lot of folks are really liking, but a lot of ways to up your game there. So I've already logged into the console. Now, we're going to talk about some very specific stuff here, right? But there's a lot of things that Sophos does. And again, if you're interested in learning about some of these other things, you can engage with your productive rep and they'd be happy to tell you about it. And you can buy these things individually, though you can see them all from the same console. You can kind of pick and choose the things that you need. And so that can include phish testing, an automated way to train and test and retrain your users with some nice reports where you can come back and find out who's passing and maybe who needs some individualized attention to understand that you can't just click on everything you see. I know it's easy. I know you want to see what's going to happen if I click on this link, but you're really going to cause us a headache. So please don't do it, right? So we can find out some of that stuff. Email gateway, manage your email security right from the same console. Web gateway, the components of this are actually getting merged into the main part of the protection. So while I have this is going to be going away. BitLocker encryption management or file vault encryption management, right from this console. You can find those recovery keys, have proof that those machines have full disk encryption in case one gets lost, all kinds of good stuff there. 2 different levels of mobile protection to meet your needs, and a lot of really neat things that you can do there. Web filtering on mobile devices, controlling what applications can get deployed or pushing out applications so that folks have the stuff that they need. The ability to create a container on an employee's phone, so they're bringing their own Android or iOS device. You put a container with your stuff, and if that phone leaves or they're handing it down to their children or whatever it might be, you can pull all your stuff off in an instant. You can wipe an entire phone. If you own the device, you can really lock down what they're able to do with that device. So they're really just using it for the business purpose that you had intended them to do, and a lot of great stuff there. And then, of course, the server and the endpoint protection, and we're going to dive right in there real quick. So a lot of information that you can see right from here. You can see I've got some alerts here. This is actually my patch management server, so this is some stuff I might want to drill into and check out. I can see those alerts here. I keep mine pretty clean, so you can see I only have the stuff that you saw in the main part of my dashboard. I can hop into logs and reports and see a lot of information on a lot of different stuff, and I'm only going to see the stuff that I've subscribed to. So if there's products that I haven't acquired, I'm not going to see information on that stuff here, just the stuff that I actually own, so it can be quite clean depending on what you have, right? One of my favorite things to do is run this, they call it general, I call it the all-encompassing log. This basically can report on virtually everything that you have, and because I've been using this a long time, I really know a lot of the stuff in here, and so I find it pretty quick to just hop in here and get a quick look at the stuff that I want to see. And I can put in a name or a machine name if I want to continue to filter it. I can update my dates right here, and then I'll do a little update, and now I've got a filter applied, and I'm just looking at the stuff that I want to see. And I can really make that look any way that I want. Once I have my lookup here, depending on what I'm searching for, now this was real-time protection disabled, so that's device-related information, not user-related information. Sometimes I'll see things that are both, and then I've got some hot links here. So I can hop in here and see what's going on with this machine. I'll just click on the device Blondie. Now I'm looking at the individual machine. You can see who the last user is, me, and I can find out a little bit more information about what's going on. If I had encryption on, I'd be able to see that recovery key here. I can disable tamper protection, or if I need to maybe do some troubleshooting in the field, I'd be able to give an end user a unique tamper protection code for just this specific machine so that they could unlock the agent. I could set them through the phone of doing whatever it is they need to do. And as soon as we were done, I would just generate a brand new key. And now this one is expired. I have a record of it. So if we're in some kind of a situation where we just did this, the device hasn't gotten the new key yet, but I need to unlock it in a hurry, probably never going to happen. It's never happened to me. I would be able to go back to my historical key if it hasn't gotten the new key yet, but chances are I'll be able to come in here and look at this new key. I can also see the events that have happened, anything that's gone down, and if I hop over to my end user, I'm really getting the same kind of view, but now I'm seeing all the events that this end user, again in this case me, has created on all the machines that he or she has logged into. And this is a user-driven policy. So I apply a policy to the user, and then wherever they log on, that policy gets applied to that device. And so again, if I want to drill into one of these boxes, I'd click here and be able to go in and see it. And so one of the things that I find very cool about the protection, I really like the way the policy follows the user, so that as they're moving around, the web filter policy is applying to them, the device control policy is applying to them, so they can't go into a conference room or go to somebody else's desk, log on to that machine when nobody's looking, and now move data to a thumb drive or go to a website that they shouldn't be going to or anything like that. Now, in some situations, you might not want a policy to be user-based for lots of reasons. Maybe you've got kind of a kiosk-type machine. You want it more locked down no matter who's logged into that thing, or you've got a training room machine. You need certain sites that are accessible regardless of who's logged in. You can still create a device-based policy so that regardless of the user, the policy doesn't change. On servers, of course, it's always a device-based policy. That policy doesn't change regardless of who's logged onto that machine. So a couple of ways you can go. The default, though, is user-based for the endpoints. We really recommend it, and I think once you start using it, you're really going to like it. So one of the things that I said is that we would drill into the root cause analysis. We're going to do that first. When I click on my endpoint protection, I come to a dashboard now that's just for the endpoint. So now I'm kind of looking at a filter a little bit. I can see information here. If I jump into my logs and reports, I'm going to see all of the same stuff that I saw, but just for the endpoints. I won't see anything server related or mobile related or whatever. I'm just going to see the endpoint stuff. And as I go into these categories, then I'll basically be looking at a filter for just the items that are covered by that category. I can still see all of my folks, and I'll see all of my endpoints. If I'm in the server section, I'll see all of my servers here, and I can bounce around pretty easily to get to the information that I want to see. We're going to drill into this root cause analysis first. I was actually fooling around with this Dell Red machine a little bit ago. I was going to launch a live attack for you guys, but it is, of course, getting the Windows 10 Creators Update. Can't understand what the big idea behind this update for Microsoft is. Feel free to let me know why it's great if you know, but I am poo-pooing it just so everybody's on the same page with me. So we're jumping into this threat that has occurred. The root cause analysis has gone through and put together a picture of what has happened. Prior to getting this RCA, what has gone down is an attack vector came through. My probably more than one component of the protection has gone to work. Could be the machine learning, could be the crypto guard. It could be those two things working together. Could be the endpoint antivirus protection. Whatever was required to stop that threat happened. Then a product called, or a feature I should say, called Sophos Clean. You don't do anything to run clean. It runs on its own. It's a remediation tool. It runs automatically. It's going to go through and clean up anything that occurred. Then Recorder is going to go to work, and it's effectively going to review everything that went down on that machine. All the other stuff is really fairly instant. The clean can take a little bit of time, especially if you have a great big hard drive packed with data to go through and remediate, or you had some kind of crazy attack. That could take a little time. The defense is instant, right? And then the RCA can take 10 to 15 minutes to put together the picture and deliver you these results. So right now I'm looking at the summary. You can see an update just happened here. You can see, oh, I actually drilled into the machine. I actually meant to drill into the issue, right? So you can see what's going on here. The detection name was depth here. If I hop over to visualize, it's going to show me a picture of the attack. Usually this is instant. There we go. Maybe that's why it took a while. I'm not sure if I've seen an RCA quite this big. This is actually a little bit larger than what I was anticipating. I've got a little legend here, the root cause and the beacon, right? That's going to tell me where it originated from and what the attack actually is. So let's zoom in a little bit here because we can't even hardly see anything. And you can see that this originated out of Explorer here. Look at all the stuff that was going on. Let's see if we can find the attack. We're just looking for the file with the blue. Here we go, right here. Oh, and this was actually just from a test. Now, when you see something this big, you do want to take a look around and make sure that you don't have more than one beacon. And so all of this stuff that was running, I can tell by the way this is laid out how much of it was actually touching the threat itself. And I can move this stuff around so I can pretty easily see. But what I can see quickly is anything off of this branch didn't come into contact. Anything off of this branch didn't come into contact with the actual threat itself. And you can see here that this is from a Sophos test tool that got created. So this is the process that was running. What do we have here? A registry key. Let's just get everything turned on so we can see it easily. A registry key, I can see the key details. 5 files came into contact. A couple DLLs here. "50 files were in contact with this process, but again, not in contact with this process. So I know where to start honing in if I need to do an investigation. In this case, because it's a test, obviously there's not much that we need to do. But if this were a real occurrence, I'd want to go through and make sure this registry key got annihilated. I want to make sure that these files were restored back to the originals, right? And I might want to do a scan just to make sure that everything is all good. If I need more information, I can come into the artifacts once I collect my information there, and I can search for the thing that I'm looking for additional information on. Up front, this is just going to show me everything that has happened. I can filter this down and see just specific areas here, or I can search if I'm looking for a specific registry key or set of keys or URL information. That's going to help me identify, did this thing touch another machine on the network? Did it communicate back to some kind of external URL or website? Did I have any data that's left the environment? So a lot of things that you can do to figure out what's happening with the information. To get this set up so that this thing is working, you simply deploy the agent, of course. You come into the threat protection. I'm just going to show you our actual policy here. You assign it to your users or groups. And we really recommend just turning every single thing on. A couple of caveats that you might want to do. We have the real-time scanning on. We don't scan remote files. That helps with performance. And we don't necessarily automatically submit malware samples to Sophos Labs. Why? Well, if you send a malware sample up, it could be attached to a Word document or some confidential information. We don't think Sophos is going to harvest or do anything with that data, but as a safety check, we can simply turn that off. Then we can work with support to help them extricate malware for review in another way if we want to. We can turn on or turn off messaging, and we can create custom messages. We can do our exclusions just like you do with any other endpoint product. And what we have done is we've created some global exclusions that apply to all the policies that we've created. But right here, I can create some exclusions that are just for these users or these devices or whatever area I'm in. From deployment, the deployment takes not that much time, maybe 10 minutes per device, which you could be installing simultaneously. The threat protection is going to be instant. You set up this policy, it does not take much time at all. As soon as the endpoint is deployed, the policy is going to be in effect. We have some other things that we can do beyond the endpoint protection, device control, application control, DLP. So here we're going to prevent data that's got addresses or socials or credit cards or whatever it is from getting zipped up, getting encrypted, getting emailed, getting uploaded via a browser, getting copied off the machine, whatever we want to do so that we can keep data on the premise and limit it to just the users who are allowed to do that kind of thing. Then we can alert managers, we can alert ourselves, whatever it is. Web content filtering, really like doing this on the endpoint. The way we used to talk about web filter is, getting people back to work. But in today's age, it's really about limiting the attack vector, reducing the attack surface, and only allowing the websites that really help the organization conduct business, and saying no to everything that doesn't, so that we don't have the opportunity to experience risk from those sites that, again, don't move business forward. So we recommend a fairly aggressive web policy for those reasons. And the nice thing about doing it on the endpoint is it follows that device wherever it goes. So it goes to Starbucks, it goes to a client side, it goes on the road, whatever it is, that policy follows without having to VPN or install an additional agent. Right, so a lot of great features there. We've really come to the end of the time. Sorry, everybody, for going over by 5 minutes. Just so much to talk about with this solution and with some of these advanced threats. It's hard to keep it contained to 30 minutes. We really do appreciate your time. I'm glad everybody could make it. Again, if we can help you, or you just want to see a little bit more of the technology, or you want to find out how the Intercept X component can integrate in with your current endpoint solution, would love to have that conversation. Check us out, help@productivecorp.com. If you know your productive rep, give them a buzz. They'll probably be reaching out to you to introduce themselves if they don't know you already. And I hope to see you on a future productive event. Thanks, everybody. and have a great day.